Guys, what's up? It's Gentle Onion Gaming, and today, right now, we are doing the final 3 out of our top 10s list. Remember, these are our personal opinions. We probably don't have the objectively best top 3 games on our list, but if you've made it this far, get ready to find out what we think about the best games ever. Derek, number 3.
All right, so I cheated on this one. Final Fantasy, I think, is one of the best game series of all time. I love all of them for their own reasons, and because of that, I couldn't decide between the 2 that felt like really good to me and nostalgic at the same time. So, and this is an unpopular decision as well, but Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy X. I had to go with them both. I loved the storyline and the characters of VIII. I loved the way it played out.
Right.
I just loved the world. I loved going through it. Everything about it. And I loved, even as a kid, Brian being older than me, I'd watch him play them all the time. And so it just, like, I remember Christmas morning one year watching you play that game for hours. And I was not bored of it. It has some of my favorite music. But then Final Fantasy X, I love that as well because that was the first Final Fantasy game that we actually did own. So it was it was like our OG almost. And I mean, there's so many iconic things in there. I just couldn't decide. They're both, I mean, a Final Fantasy game, the characters, the story, the gameplay. Yeah. They're just so solid. I couldn't decide between those 2.
Hey, it makes sense. Final Fantasies are, man, there's just so many to pick from, and there are some that are really good. Obviously, a lot of people are going to have 7.
Right.
And I think that if there's people who've played Final Fantasy, they know how good 9 is as well.
Right.
So, and then obviously anything before that is like, I don't know. It's just, that's what it is.
6 even is great. But for me, I couldn't pick 7, even though I know it has some of the most iconic things for the series.
Yeah.
But because 8 and 10 were so personal to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I had to do it, because I can play them, I remember them, and 7 came much later for me. So that's how it comes.
All right, Coulter, number 3.
So I remember, you guys probably don't remember, or maybe you do, about me saying how Mass Effect 2 was on my list. But Mass Effect 1, however, is for top 3. Now here's why. Here's why.
The twist. Plot twist.
Plot twist. So here's why. The exploration. I really like the exploration part a lot of the aspect. Maybe some others don't, but personally, it was just going out, discovering all these missions, pretty much.
Yeah.
You'd be going on ships, going around, driving on your little vehicle on a planet.
Yeah.
It was really fun to me. And then it was also the first RPG game, really, I played. Since I didn't really own an Xbox One and N64, I didn't...
Doing all them shooters and...
Yeah.
All that Halo.
Well, Mass Effect, the exploration was pretty cool. The reason I didn't put it was Mass Effect was like really, really, really good. But it was like introducing Mass Effect 2, the more polished, the better game. That's how I felt with it. Yeah. Because a lot of the missions, when you did go exploring, were reskinned. It was very obvious that they didn't have the ability to make it as vast as they wanted it to feel. But those problems aside, Mass Effect's a great game. The first one is amazing, too. So awesome. Zach, number 3.
More Naughty Dog. The Last of Us.
The Last of Us, yeah.
And I really struggled with where to place this because do I like The Last of Us more than Uncharted? And ultimately what it came down to is, I mean, Uncharted 4, like I said in the last video or 2, has similar feels to Last of Us, but the emotional resonance of The Last of Us was unbelievable. The first 15 minutes of that game
insane
hooks you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it can't hook you. The first, I mean, just how emotional that was and how dark and just kind of gritty. And
I mean, if there was one word I could use to describe the overall play style of Last of Us, it would be a journey. You really do kind of just get into this world and what's going on, and you got to see it through to the end.
Right.
It's crazy intense and spooky at times. Like there's a time when you're kind of in this, I don't remember exactly where, but you're in this basement or this kind of underwater like water place.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And holy cow, I mean that was some of the most intense moments in a game. Like and that's not even a scary game.
No, for sure. Yeah,
even the subway, I remember part when you're crawling through the subway and you have to be quiet, and then there's a dead end, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Can't make noise. I have to find something.
I
to do it.
love post-apocalyptic things, and that's, I mean, you could see it, you would read about it, other people's struggles, and then you would go through it. And so when you would go through this world, you're just like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was so
Also, their crafting system was a unique
good.
twist as well.
It was
for
really good.
mechanics.
It wasn't
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, it wasn't too heavy-handed, but it was enough to make you feel like you're scrounging.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
But that you're not living a real-life situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is cool. Last of Us was a great game. I remember how many top scores it got when it first came out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, number 3 for me. Once again, we've got crossover. This one for me is Kingdom Hearts 1, number 3.
Oh,
The reason I have it so high is because I avoided playing that game for a really long time because I thought that, and this was the same with Prince of Persia, the first one. I thought that it was a gimmick sale. I
Right.
thought that they were going,
And
look,
most people
Disney
did.
characters,
Yeah.
gimmicky. But when I played it, I realized it is so amazingly good. I could not, I almost couldn't understand at that point how good it could be. But I love the crossover of universes. I love exploring Disney movies in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just that game was a lot of fun, and I not for a lot of the reasons like, oh, the mechanics are super great, you know,
Right.
or anything, but it's just they did such a good job to make it such a well-rounded game. And music for me in video games
Oh.
is like probably something that I subconsciously attach to, like, this is why this game is great.
Yeah.
No one would listen to the Kingdom Hearts music, you know, Simple and Clean. No one cares about the song. I bet it's like a mass song. You put it in Kingdom Hearts, and suddenly it's one of the best songs. It's like
Yeah.
anime, you know, openers.
Well,
all of a sudden, it's one of the best songs you've ever heard.
That song and the other one made my iPod, Utada Hikaru.
Yeah.
That's her name, if you guys were wondering. I love that
Sanctuary.
scene. Sanctuary and Simple and Clean. and
Because
they're
they put
so
it in a
good.
scene, you're like, this music's best music ever. Yeah, and so things like that make it so much more of a well-rounded game than a lot of others that I've played. The storyline, while I think the rest of the series, you know, I'm separating this from the rest of the series because I don't personally think it went very well. And I didn't play a lot of them because they went back to handheld and moved it around
that's
a
why
lot.
I just had to go 1 and 2 for that
Yeah,
reason.
to me that's really obnoxious and it ruined the series. But number 1, the storyline coming into that I thought was really ingenious.
Right. Agreed.
So yeah, it made 3. Derek, number
Where's Kingdom
2.
Hearts 3? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, where is
It's been a minute.
Give him a couple more years.
Number 2 is for me The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I mean, if I'm talking about a 64 game, 2 64 games that were the best, I would have to say Super Mario 64 and then Legend of Zelda 64, Ocarina of Time. This, I cannot tell you people how many times I've been like, where the hell is a game that is just Legend of Zelda, where you explore, you go into dungeons, you meet epic bosses, you get items, you progress through a story that actually has, like, you know, some depth to it, but make it their own, you know, like, you don't have to just copy them, but every time I think a game, it could be better because it could have done this. I think of Legend of Zelda. And it was just so solid. It was so revolutionary for what games
really was.
should be that I play it now. You know, every time I go home to my parents, plug that bad boy in and just knock it out. And
Until
like
you
said,
get to the water temple and then you quit.
well, I didn't struggle with that as much as you, but I mean everything about it. You know, gameplay mechanics, characters, graphics, music. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is bar none one of the best games of all time, but it does make number 2 for me.
I never did play it, and I wish I would have. For some reason, I don't know. I never at that time. What you probably would have been like 6.
I was a young buck.
Because I mean, I think it probably came out when I was like 8, about 98 or so, and so I just never had the means, or I never really paid attention to games, and so nobody that I knew had that.
Oh man.
And so I wish there was somebody, because I mean I've tried to go back,
Yeah.
and going back to anything
Right.
Nintendo 64 is kind of hard, but so I hear you, but I wish I would have played that.
All right, Coulter.
Got some big shoes to fill with that one. Let's hear
All
it.
right. So for my number 2, I would have to say The Last of Us.
I was hoping he'd say something so I could be like,
I thought they would
Trying to
start to
scoff at
narrow. I
Yeah.
thought they'd start to narrow down in here with these
Right.
names.
So, especially going on with the story, the matchmaking's also a lot of fun. And it's been, what, how many years since the
Yeah,
game's
the
come out? And it
multiplayer.
still
The multiplayer.
has so many
The
people
matchmaking-
playing it.
No, the
Sucks.
matchmaking sucks.
Well,
the
the ma-
But the
gameplay.
gameplay
Gameplays.
online is awesome.
And it still has actually a player base. It hasn't gone completely dead
Yeah.
yet. So.
Yeah.
No, I'm surprised how much I enjoy that because I just recently played Last of Us multiplayer because I didn't think it would be that great, and
Right.
it actually is crazy fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
because
a-
it's a story-driven
Game.
adventure survival game.
Yeah, you don't
wouldn't
expect it to have
yeah.
such a good online.
Well, I always say that it really has hints of old school Gears of War because it's very much so. Like with Call of Duty's Battlefields, it's you die and you just keep going until you get to 60 kills or whatever it is.
Right.
But with Gears of War and with The Last of Us, especially the mode that we play, it's like you get one life. Once you die, that's the round. And so
Yeah.
whoever is kind of like last man standing, and I love that different kind of slower paced multiplayer.
And it,
Yeah.
it really kind of it plays off how the story mode even is. Every you had to make these decisions and high tension,
Yeah.
sort of
It's
thing.
true.
So I
And
think
the
that's what makes it so
crafting
good.
also comes into the multiplayer as well. So.
Yep.
All right, Zach, I'm curious.
Yeah, I am too.
Super Mario World.
I was wondering who would have it.
Yeah, it kind of had to make a list here.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm actually surprised we went this far without hearing that because that game to me, man, was again. I played Super Mario Brothers, or not Super, but Brothers on the NES. I played 3. I played a little bit of 2. Loved them, but it just seemed like Super Mario World took that next step.
Oh, it
Oh, yeah.
definitely
Like
did.
graphically, it just is so bright and colorful. I mean, Yoshi, come on, man!
Yeah.
Freaking
Yeah.
the Yoshi.
That's true.
Loving, I fell in love with Yoshi.
I bet if you were to just go, hey, let's make a montage of like classic video games that are gonna get people pumped, hyped, just feeling retro video games. If you don't have like 3 or 4 clips of that game, you're gonna fail. The fact is, I didn't put it on mine. Derek didn't put it on his, and it's not because I didn't play them. It's not because I haven't beaten it.
Right.
It's because I just, for some reason, while it was such a great step forward, it just wasn't there for me as far as personally. But I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
objectively, you cannot argue that it's not probably the best Mario
Yeah.
game ever made. Even with Nintendo
And-
64s in there, which was amazing. I think it's just, it is
Yeah.
the greatest. It's so
Yeah.
good.
It
You'd
is.
be hard pressed to argue that it was not the best Mario game of old school anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you.
And you're right. They added a lot of mechanics to it. It was like kind of the baby intro to open world. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
kind of
like-
felt like because there was a little moving around. You were going
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth. I mean, you would go back to the little beginning level, and I don't know. It just kind of
Right.
felt like that.
And-
There was secrets, to
Yeah.
find, and
And the crazy thing about it is, I could go maybe 15 or 20 years without playing that game. The moment I come back, I could hum those songs.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, it's just amazing how good those songs are,
Yeah.
dude.
epitome of iconic.
And
Yeah.
it didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of the Mario games nowadays where it holds your hand and says you're a baby.
Right.
Yeah, it just
When
you
we
go into a
played it
level.
as like babies.
Yeah,
So it's
we're-
like,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
You go into the level, and you pretty much figure out for yourself.
You
from
just
there.
gotta go for it.
Yeah.
All right, Brian.
Number
Let's hear
2, okay, more overlap. My number 2 game ever is Final Fantasy VIII. The reason is over 7, over 10, over any of the other ones you can make is when I was young, I did not own a Super Nintendo. And so all the Super Nintendo games, including the one we just talked about,
Right.
I had to play when I could find the time.
Yep.
One thing I never got to play was any Final Fantasies, but I saw them and I remember thinking these games look so fun. I finally got to try Final Fantasy for the first time at a friend's house, and it was Final Fantasy VIII. I played it as I basically was like a douche friend and was like, dude, I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII at your house. Leave me alone. For
I hated those guys.
That was me with that too. I got so
I
hooked.
have to play this.
Yeah, I have to, and I didn't get it until we had the PlayStation 2. So like you said, the first Final Fantasy we owned was 10. We
Right.
got 8 because I basically begged my parents, and what they did was they put it in our stocking, and just in my life, I always woke up really early for Christmas. This particular Christmas, I woke up at 2 a.m.
And
I went upstairs and I found Final Fantasy VIII in my stocking. That was like the baited thing that our parents would do to keep us to leave them alone. And I actually was the last one up to open presents because I played it for the next 6 hours straight.
Wow.
And I sat there and watched them the whole time, engaged.
Wow.
I cannot. If there's RPG, to me, it's Final Fantasy VIII. Squall's my favorite character, and again, music. I just think it's well rounded. I think it's great, and I just can't go back to 7, even though it's amazing, and say it's better. I can't go back to 9, even though amazing, and say it's better.
Agreed.
And so, yeah, 8 for me is the best RPG I've played, and it is because it was the first. And I was just like, man, I do love these games.
Wow.
Right.
So, number 1, Derek, the big cheese.
Well, this should come as no surprise. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Fallout 3 is by far my favorite game of all time, and I mean that quite literally. I've platinumed it as far as trophies go, but I've done more than that. I've done playthroughs where I've been like, I'm going to go this route and I'm going to do this thing with it. And this is how I'm going to play the game. This is how I'm going to experience this world this time. I have played numerous upon numerous files, all different ways, all different types. It is the only game that has pulled me in so much and has immersed me so much that it actually made me enjoy a genre, which is that post-apocalyptic survival thing.
Yeah.
And I almost strive to get that feeling again. You know, The Last of Us, I loved it for a lot of the same reasons where I'm like, this is that world, but nothing has connected with me in that way. It was open world, choose your own thing, you know, play the way you want to do it. And it's just, I cannot say enough good things about it. I love Fallout.
Yeah.
I love Fallout 4, but Fallout 3 is by far my favorite game, to the point where I have bought it more than once, more than twice. I bought it 3 separate times. The second time I bought it and it didn't work on Steam, so I went out and I bought it again.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's
You
how
were livid.
one day got on. I want to play Fallout 3 again. I want to do everything again. So I downloaded it and it didn't work.
It
and
was busted.
So mad because I had my Fallout hankering.
Yeah.
And I just needed to satisfy it.
Derek, I'm surprised your list did not have Demon Souls on it.
I thought about it, but as far as a Souls games have disappointed me for so long now. I found them just stagnant, boring, and not difficult.
Because of Demon Souls, though.
Demon Souls, your first Souls game is always your hardest, but Demon Souls to me while it's great, while it's something that I actually was pivotal for my gaming style, I don't know how much I'd enjoy it going back.
Yeah, you're kind of like, it was great, but I don't
It was
think
good
it's
the first time around, and a lot of these things I thought had to have sort of a nostalgic value to me and playability. And I mean, it was one of those things where you experience it once, you can talk about it, you can translate it, but that and Super Mario 64 were like 11 and 12, and they were pushing their way in, and I kind of had to bump them out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Coulter, you're number 1.
So this will be Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2. I'm glad someone put it on there, or else we would get murdered in our sleep.
Yeah.
So here's why.
You saved us, Coulter.
You're welcome. So here's why. It's not cutscenes. Like, you're not taking out of the game, essentially, while they do their story moments or plot moments. You're actually still in first person. Even though you don't exactly have control of the person, you're still essentially there playing the character.
Yeah.
And the mechanics of the game are pretty fun, especially the gravity gun. Just picking stuff up and shooting random objects at people. It was really fun. And the story, I enjoyed the story a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't play them. And I know, I think it's because I'm not a PC gamer, and they just, weren't they PC first? They
were. Half-Life 2 did come out with the orange box for the 360.
Yeah, but again, I didn't play Xbox either. So, yeah, I don't know where else it was released, but I know that people love that game. But, never played it. And so,
Still waiting for that third one, though.
I know.
Half-Life 3 confirmed here.
Yeah, it keeps going on.
All right, Zach, number 1.
This, like Derek's, should be pretty obvious to you guys. It's BioShock.
Yep.
And I know, the reason I know this needed to be number 1 is because I not only remembered it extremely fondly,
right,
but then I recently just played through it with the remastered, and I was enamored with it the whole way through. Just like, really, the first time I did it. Because a lot of the stuff, I hadn't played it in probably 5 or 6 years. I didn't really remember everything.
Yeah.
I knew the core kind of concepts and like the story and things like that. But there would be times when I'd be like really tired for work or because of work or whatever, and I would be, it'd be late. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to bed after this section. Like once I find my 5 people to kill for this like crazy dude, I'm going to bed. But then I would do it, and then I'd get in the next section. I'd immediately just start looking in every crevice, every little area, looking for everything.
Right.
And it was just it still had that kind of grab and hold on me.
Yeah.
Many years later, so I knew this was gonna be my number one. Even before the remastered came out, I knew I loved BioShock so much. But playing it again, man, I just
kind of cemented it.
Cemented this was the best game I ever.
I think there's something to be said, because I do this with Fallout as well, where you can go into this game and you do things that you wouldn't do in other games. Like, I know in Fallout, I'll walk into a random building and I will look through rubbish, just garbage. I'll make, wow, look at this, and I'll just look at everything. And I can understand that where you're in BioShock, you're like, I'm going to check this corner again, even though you know there's probably not much over there, because you've played the game so many times, but you're like, I'm going to go explore this world that I've actually kind of grown a little bit into.
Here's the thing with BioShock, okay, and like I said, I couldn't play it because it freaked me out. I'm kind of a little bit of a wuss when it comes to
dark.
stuff.
It's dark.
But what I came to realize later is it has one of the best storylines that have been written into video games, especially for its time. It was like, dang, holy cow. It had mechanics in video games that had not been done before. Lots of environmental stuff. I remember you could shock the water. It would shock that was something that was new, and BioShock did it. And what ended up happening was I realized BioShock wasn't just a scary game. BioShock was extremely well-rounded, and I wish I had actually finished it. Nowadays, I've already read the storyline. I've already seen the stuff. But, it really was that good, and I understand completely why people love it for what it is.
Definitely.
Especially going off of the story, you could get more off of it from like the recordings you find. You listen to it, you're like, oh, so that's why this happened in this area. You'll find like this dead
that's
body.
what freaked me out.
Yeah,
was
that's
I was
what made him
listening
quit.
to like all these things like, oh, this place is freaky,
Yeah, especially because there's this one point where you got to like confront this doctor. And so you
that's
start,
where he quit.
So you start finding, I'm sure you started finding the audio clips where he's kind of going mad in front of people's eyes.
It got to me. Yeah, it was just
that's why
a
he
little
quit.
too much.
But that, I can't believe, Coulter, you have Forza ahead of BioShock.
I don't have Forza, I have BioShock.
Whatever, Coulter, Brian. what's your
BioShock's
number one?
ahead of Forza.
There was something else.
We'll look at his list later.
So
We'll
for
scrutinize you.
this is probably one of the most agreeable games on mine. It is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Classic. And the reason is, I think out of all video games in history, there's never been one that has been as well-rounded. Music, environment. If you were going to compare, to me, if you're going to say what's a perfect game, the closest you come is that game. Why? In the time, 3D was new, and it taught you how to beat. It was open world. It's the first basically open world game I knew of, but it was massive feeling with a condensed feel. Like you weren't getting lost. You could see each area as you looked around, and then you'd have to travel there, and it made it feel immense, especially for the time. But it wasn't like getting lost randomly. Tons of secrets. Got that Zelda. It was the Legend of Zelda. All the items, boss fights. I just think that as far as a game goes, there's none more well-rounded than that game.
Agreed. And I mean, you said it had everything. And I think if you were to become a game developer, you would have to look at that game and say, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you, along with many others, it hit 2 on mine, but most lists have that as number 1.
When I looked up at Wikipedia to jog my memory for some of the games that I was like, maybe I'm missing one or whatever. the number one game with the most top 10 lists
Was.
as far as journalists and you know, respected people, not us,
Right.
respected people,
Yeah.
was Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It hits the most lists. It's really high up there. So, all right, guys. Well, that's our favorite games. We're going to come at you with more top 10s. Maybe not quite as extensively as this
Right.
one, but we thought this would be a lot of fun and help you get to know our gaming styles. So thanks for doing that with us. Guys, if you want to join the Onion Patch and keep up with our content coming out, hit the subscribe button right now. You guys, we'll see you later. Peace.